not have to be late just to figure that out. So let me see if this shows up on Twitch. Is this working? Okay, we're live on Twitch. Can you talk real quick just so I can test the mics?
Yeah. Hello, everybody.
Can you talk real quick just so I can test the mics?
Yeah. Hello, everybody.
Can you talk real quick just so I can test the mics?
Yeah. Hello, everybody.
Can you talk real quick? Sorry, now it's gonna echo for a while we're gonna let that stop. I just had to tweak it so that you're a little bit louder. Let me try again. Okay, can you talk again? A bit louder.
Yeah.
Let me
Hello, everybody.
try again. Okay, can you talk again? A bit louder.
Yeah,
Let me
testing this audio.
try again. Okay, can you
Hope everybody can hear us well.
Yeah,
Testing this audio.
try again? Okay, can you
Hope everybody can hear.
Interesting. I am still way louder than you. Alright, we're gonna try one more time. Can you talk again? Alright, we're gonna try
This is
one more time. Can you talk again? Alright, we're gonna try
This is working.
one more time. Can you talk again? Alright.
So testing.
Damn it. I wonder what happens if I just do this. Okay, I'm trying something completely different. Try talking one more time.
Right. Testing audio. Testing. Is this working?
Yeah, okay, there we go. Okay, that's better. So I just had to pipe that. Before I was piping it through my desktop. This works way better. Okay, so I think we're technically competent. We at this point can probably tweet out that we're doing this. Let me just say. I'm gonna put this in Discord real quick. Oops. I'll just retweet yours.
There we go.
All right. So, okay. So now whenever we want to, we can start the podcast. I've done the social media thing, done all the steps, ran through my checklist.
Very good. Whenever you are ready.
All right. How do we start this? You know, I never figured out like a standardized way to start this thing.
Probably just introduce yourself and the podcast, and I can introduce myself, and then we're ready to go, I guess.
Yeah. No, I'm going to include this part. So I think most of the people on the podcast know who I am. But do you want to tell people who you are, Kenneth? Kenny?
Yeah. Well, hello, everybody. So my name is Kenneth Engelsen, and I come from a video game company in Norway, which is called Rain Games. So it's a very small indie company. We made 2 titles before. So the first one is called Teslagrad, and it's quite well known. It was an indie hit released in 2013.
Can I stop you and can we restart? I'm getting echo through the mic. My plan did not work. Shit. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Calix, can you hear the echo through the mic, or is it just on my end?
There is no echo on my end, no.
You're in Skype. I was talking to somebody in the chat.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no worries. That's because I'm sorry. Can you try talking now? I want to see if I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right. That was the last technical hitch.
Okay.
Now, now you're not coming through my speakers, and so we should be good to go.
Okay.
Okay. Shoot, they weren't hearing an echo anyway. Sorry about that, Dom. All right, so we're gonna do this for real now.
All right.
All right, all right. This is the dialogue box. This is Gwen Frey, and I'm joined today with Kenneth Engelsen.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Kenneth, but please call me Kenny. It's more of my social nickname. It's what most people call me. It's very nice to be here and nice to meet you. I come from a video game company based in Norway. We are Rain Games, and we have created a game before called Teslagrad. It was released in 2013. It was one of the indie darlings that year that went really well. And later, we developed a game called World to the West. Further, we have been developing a game called Mesmer. But what we're here to talk about today is actually an ongoing Kickstarter campaign for a video game called Girl Genius Adventures in Castle Heterodyne.
So this is where I'm gonna cut you off and we have to start talking because I lost it when I saw that you were doing that Kickstarter. That's how this whole conversation got rolling. Like
Exactly.
that's an indie comic it's a web comic. I didn't even realize they had a print version. That was a web comic I used to read 10 years ago back when I was in high school. I just adored it. 10 years ago. No, I'm sorry. More than 10 years ago. Jesus, how old am I? Like 15, quite a while ago. Wow. I'm just realizing how fast time goes. But yeah, no, I used to adore Girl Genius back in the day. How did this happen? Like, did you know about this IP? Did you seek this out? What got you on the path to doing this? None of the other Rain games were licensed IP, right?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a longer story, but that is also very interesting to listen to. So Rain Games has never done a licensed IP before. This is the first time. And the reason why we came into contact with the Studio Folio, that is Phil and Kaya Folio, their company, is because Rain Games here, we're actually part owners in another company inside this studio where I'm actually at right now. There's a company called Inkypen, and that company does an app for Nintendo Switch where you can read comic books as a subscription service, pretty much like Spotify for comic books. So the thing was that our man Peter, the CEO of Rain, and Inkypen, the company, went to a Comic Con in San Diego. And that's where they actually met Phil and Kaya Folio. And what happened then was that they got into talking, and the Folios were really, really interested in getting a game out for their IP, Girl Genius. And actually, the introduction started there, where it's just at that point in time, it was more like just a chat. But then it actually started a really, really long mailing back and forth. And we actually managed to conclude it. Like, yes, we want to license the Girl Genius IP and make a game for that IP.
Okay. So you guys met at San Diego Comic-Con. You were working on a different game back then. I imagine that was back when you were on Mesmer or something, one of those games.
Yeah, Mesmer is still ongoing, and it's releasing soon. It was just actually yesterday or a day before. It was available to be wishlisted on Steam. So it's coming out soon. So it's been in the works for about 2.5, 3 years, something like that.
I wasn't sure if it was out because I keep seeing, I would see Twitter stuff about it all the time. You guys are very active on Twitter. You do a great job of getting awareness out there.
Yeah, and I think that especially during this Kickstarter as well, We've been very active on Twitter. And yeah, we want to get even better at doing that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I know what it's like when you have that Kickstarter going. It's like every day you wake up and you look at the number and your brain's just kind of like electrocuted every day. You're just like, what am I doing to make the Kickstarter number go up? I just have this one number and it has to go up. It's just the wildest month. How long have you?
absolutely.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. How was it? How long did you guys spend preparing for this? Like, how long? What was? Can you kind of give me like the timeline? When was San Diego Comic Con? When did you realize you were gonna license the IP? When did you start working on the game? When did you go to Kickstarter? Like, how much time did each of
Yeah,
these take?
right. The Comic Con, that was last year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, last year before all COVID and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then I guess it took us about half a year with a little bit back and forth dialogue, la 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 la. La.
Mm-hmm.
And we we did a contract in I guess it was in yeah, pretty early this year, February, March, April, around that time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we've been setting up the Kickstarter since then,
Okay.
doing a lot of artwork and getting a little team together and everything to make this thing. But there's also a lot of business that needs to happen as well. So fair enough to create the artwork and all of that, but we had to open a business in the US, rather what you call an LLC, for example, to run the Kickstarter through. There's a lot of
I didn't know about that.
business stuff that we had to do.
Wait, so you couldn't just have the Kickstarter in Norway? Or
It is,
like
it is possible to do for sure. Kickstarter opened up the possibility for a Norwegian company to do LLC. No, sorry, to do a Kickstarter, but there are also some pretty heavy tax implications and stuff like that. So yeah, in short, it's a little bit more practical to
just start an American LLC?
mm, mm.
Interesting. Huh. Okay. So this actually did come together pretty quickly. Have
Yeah.
you guys is this a style of game you guys have made before in the past, and so now you're like you're very experienced with it, and so now you're just doing it, you're iterating on what you've done in the past but with a new IP this time? Because I
Yeah,
know,
that's right.
yeah, I know you guys make I've seen a lot of your Twitter stuff, so I know you're really into steampunk and that kind of style of world. So
Mm.
yeah, this is
It's
just a
a
great fit.
Yeah, it is a great fit because there's exactly that. That is one of the big things that we got talking about with the folios. That Rain Games have been making steampunk games for like the last 10 years.
Hmm.
So it's just a really good mix, and also the little extra added thing here. Our CEO man, Peter. He loves Girl Genius. Like he has read everything. He's like an actual fan of the series, like hardcore. He knows all the details of is very very much into it. So he just really 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 want to make it happen himself as well.
Jeez, I had no idea this indie comic was so popular. Like, I knew it was a web comic. The thing is, you have to keep in mind that took me back when I saw that
Yeah.
Kickstarter. I went back and I like dug out my old copy because I have the original like omnibus, the first four, and I went online and I reread. I basically spent a weekend just reading this comic that I haven't read in I don't remember how long clearly because I've forgotten my own age. But like, man, nostalgia sells like that. I like
Yes.
that took me back so hard. I've never had something that I felt that nostalgic that immediately for. I'm really excited for this game. Like,
Yeah.
you have no
There's
idea.
I
Like
think
I'm
that's one of the special things about this, right? Because it's such a long-running graphic novel series, right?
yeah.
Like 20 years of webcomic and graphic novels, and also novelizations of the work as well. It's a large production of.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of content, a lot of story, a lot of uh,
It's
drama and intrigue, and people have been growing up with this, and some people that are actually a little bit older now, or very much adult, right? They've been reading this thing or Girl Genius for the last 20 years.
being older
So
doesn't mean you have to be an adult, Kenny.
uh, 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 you're right about that.
But yeah. Oh man, yeah, that hit hard. Like I don't even know what to say. Like it's weird because I'm just fangirling at this point. Like I'm so excited about this. Like that is a rich universe. There's just so much in that universe. Um, God, I have to catch up to the newest stuff because I didn't. Everything I know is so old. But oh man, so this is exciting. You're halfway through the Kickstarter. How's it going?
We're halfway through, and we're 54 or 55% funded. So it
Okay.
goes quite well so far. 14 days left, and I believe it will work.
Hmm.
It is definitely a little bit of an ambitious Kickstarter campaign with the funding goal and all, but I think they will work, and like uh, I just have to say that I'm just humbled by seeing such a support for this Kickstarter campaign and the game. A lot of people want to see this thing
No,
happen.
I'm really one of them.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. This isn't your first time doing a Kickstarter. If I recall, Rain, you guys have done like Kickstarters for quite a few of your games, right?
No, that is actually not right.
What?
So this is the first Kickstarter campaign that we have ever done
Oh,
for
my
Rain Games.
my intel is so wrong. I thought Aslak, because I know one of your animators, Aslak.
Yeah.
He, I swear he talked about running a Kickstarter once, but maybe I'm insane. So this is your first Kickstarter.
Yes, this is the
Wow.
first Kickstarter that we're doing. So we have to try to learn how to do this, right?
Yeah.
Um,
So
so
is
it's a new experience for us, and it's something that we really wanted to try out for some time. But it seemed to make sense in this case because it it's quite hard to get funding for video games in general, right?
yeah.
And Girl Genius is not maybe a big enough IP to kind of easily attract investors and that sort of stuff. But we know that there is a large fandom around the Girl Genius works,
Yeah.
and it's very active as well on the internet, in all sorts of forums and on Reddit, and it's just very strong fandom. And I think that to gather all that fandom into a video game Kickstarter seemed to make sense for this particular game and IP.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I can see it because I know a lot of people think Kickstarter's kind of dead as far as funding games goes, but it's definitely very much thriving for board games. Like video
Abs-
games, it's hard. Board games is up there. I imagine is there a lot of webcomic stuff on Kickstarter?
Uh, the the thing is that Studio Folio and the Girl Genius have done several Kickstarters,
I
like
see.
for the graphic novels to print editions of the graphic novels. They do it through Kickstarter, and they're really, really good at it.
Yeah.
So Studio Folio has, I think we're talking at least 8 Kickstarters, and all of them have been really successful. So it's part of their way of funding the actual physical print editions, and also it gives the fans of the series some extra, cool items and rewards as well.
Yeah.
So since
Man,
yes,
I wish there was a way to, because I never would have known this was happening if I didn't happen to follow Aslak. You know what I mean? Like, because I read this back when I was in high school, and I'm like 33 now, so that was a long time ago. I wonder if there's any way to reach back and connect with the people that used to read this back when it was a webcomic back in the day, back when it was new. Because there
yeah,
were so many fans back then, and I just don't know how to like. Are how are you getting the word out?
right. So nowadays, it seems to be quite hard to get the media
Oh yeah.
to write about Kickstarter campaigns, especially for video games.
Yeah.
So we had a bit of a challenge getting the word out. So that's why we do a lot of community engagement. But we did something that I think was really important, which was that we created a fan event for people that follow Girl Genius weekly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we did an AMA, or Ask Me Anything, with Kaya and Phil Folio on the Girl Genius Discord server. And we hosted that event. So I hosted the event and kind of asked questions to the folios. And that was great at actually getting the word out about this game as well, because we announced it in that AMA after the
Mm-hmm.
AMA was concluded. So that got a lot of fans at least on board or heard about Kickstarter, and it's been spreading out from there. So certainly the whole community and trying to actually talk directly to the fans of the series and see if they want this game to be produced, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I guess my concern would be it's been around for so long, and I imagine the fandom's changed. Like back when I was in high school, there was no Discord. Like it used to just be this free web comic that they were doing that was amazing, but they didn't capture emails, especially back then. There was no, there was no. We were just less concerned about capturing a community back then. I think in general as a society, and I think like back then, I don't. I would have to sit down and really think to figure out what the webcomics were that I read back in the day, you know? I just
Mm,
wonder, I bet over the next couple of years there's people coming out of the woodworks that are just lapsed readers that haven't kept up with this for over a decade because it's been around for so long. Um, Man. And
yeah,
I just don't know how you reach them because I know you're right. I remember when we did our Kickstarter for The Flame and the Flood, we would reach out to people and it was clear that we were straight up told, "Yo, we don't cover Kickstarter" by most of the major outlets. They just won't do it because their readership doesn't want to be like uh, slapped with ads all the time. You know what I mean? It kind of makes sense.
mm,
But man, I wish we could get the word out about this a little bit more because I bet
yeah.
there's got to be like I can't be alone. Like there's got to be loads of people out there that loved this back in the day.
Absolutely. There are. We see it because the Kickstarter campaign is still going on, right? Like it's
Mm-hmm.
still doing well. Right now, for the last 2 weeks, we have pretty much reached out to everything that we can think of. With all these fan communities that are around and on social media and Reddit and whatnot. And there have been some articles and all that sort of stuff. But um, what can I say? I see that more and more people are seeing that this Kickstarter is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there is certainly a challenge to really kind of capture those people that don't regularly check up on Girl Genius anymore. Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe not weekly, but let's say they check up once a month or even less, right?
Mm-hmm.
Try to have a few pages of the new comic to read. So there is certainly a challenge in reaching those people as well. I
Yeah.
do sincerely believe that there are a lot of people that if they were to get informed that this Kickstarter is happening, they want to support it because they want to play that video game.
Specifically around that story set in that universe. You could set anything in that universe. As soon as I saw that, I was like, why didn't I license that and make a puzzle game? Because it would fit so well with their with their IP. It's a beautiful IP to work with. Have you interesting. Well, I mean, you have the community of people that follow Rain Games too, right? Is that
Yes.
and that's pretty sizable, I imagine. So
Yes, certainly is sizable, but it can also be a little bit hard to capture. Uh, we try to get better at that, so we have created a public Discord for Rain Games that we want to kind of actually have the community based in. So that's where we want to talk to people that enjoy playing games from us. And we're going to try to promote that over, a long
yeah.
period of time and try to gather that community, because it can be a little bit spread out. And yeah, it's something that I want us to get better at over time.
Yeah, I mean it's hard because for a long time you would work hard to get people to buy your game on Steam, right? And
Right.
then now they're locked into the Steam ecosystem. You can't direct them to a Kickstarter, not easily. Like there's ways now where you can have an event where you kind of like talk about the Kickstarter, but largely your communities are kind of gated away and locked in other places unless you've put in the effort to build a Discord, but then you're managing a Discord. And for game, unless you're doing a multiplayer game or something with mods or something, like people don't want to be part of a community for a game that they're going to play once and then not play again. So it's hard to to capture people and to keep them in a Discord. I think getting a mailing list,
Yeah.
in hindsight, I wish I had like started a mailing list for most like earlier on, but you can't like retroactively do that. It's very difficult.
Yeah, it is. But it's a part of the whole business of making games. And I think that we as developers, or rather indie developers, right? Uh, we have to carry so many hats because we have less monetary resources than the big AAA studios. So, for example, I have to be like the project lead, the business developer, the marketing, the game designer.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know what you mean. I feel like I spend a third of I'm like a politician. I spend a third of my time fundraising, a third of my time campaigning for the game, and a third of the time actually making it. Like especially these days. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
the feeling pretty
So
well.
that is the life of the indie developer. So
Yeah.
we just have to try to do our best at managing all of this, but it certainly is a challenge
Yeah.
to manage
How
because.
big Oh, sorry.
Please talk. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, I didn't mean to cut you off. I do that all the time. I get excited. How big is your team?
So I wanted to keep the team for running the Kickstarter very low. That is to manage risk. So we only have a small team of well, 4 or 5 people. That is to let's say if we were to not get funded, right? I have less people to disappoint. So I just want to keep the complexity levels down a little bit for now. But we're gonna have to expand the team a little bit if we get funded. For example, with a dedicated animator to this project as well, because there will be a lot of animation work to do for us. But in general, the team is quite small and focused. So it's a small indie production, but it is in 3D. And we are reusing a game engine that we didn't build the engine, but for a previous game, World to the West, we did a lot of technology production for that type of game that we're going to reuse and save a lot of time in doing so.
So what did you learn from A World to the West that you're going to apply to this game?
Well, for this game, we're gonna need to update it a little bit towards current standards in game development. So, for example, in World Tour West, Rain built, or rather modified, sort of the lighting setup for that particular game, very custom made thing. But we're gonna have to update it a little bit for today's standard. So we need to change some how lighting is being handled in the game and stuff like that.
So it's a custom engine at Rain Games?
No, it's the Unity engine,
Okay.
but there's just a lot of technology produced added to it. So it saves us about a year, I estimate, of work.
Of course. I mean, it's always good to. I mean, it's good to. You make a game, you take away some things go right, some things go wrong, you write them down, and then the next game you want it to be similar, just push in a slightly different direction, but building upon what you've done. So I'm curious what happened with the Worlds of the West that you thought, man, I wish we'd done this differently, and that is there anything design wise or in any way that you like that you kind of want to change, or philosophies you want to do, things you want to do differently for this next game?
Well, one thing for the Girl Genius game is that most of the game will take place in an interior setting. So we're inside Castle Heterodyne.
Yeah.
And we want to explore that interior. And since most of the game is just in the interior, even though it's quite a bit of an esoteric world inside of there, there are some modifications that we want to do for the level design tool in order to make it a little bit more easier for us to design interior levels using a special tool for that, a level design tool, that is. So that is something that we learned in World Tour West. There were some issues with that level design tool, especially, for example, just weird stuff like making corners. There were some issues there, but it's something that we're looking to try to fix for this one. And we need to think a little bit about how the level design tool will work. So there is a little bit of work to do there.
I see. All right. So it sounds like you have some tech stuff to figure out, because you want to overhaul the lighting system. You got some tech stuff for the engine that you're going to do differently. How about, I mean, obviously this one, another huge change here is now you're working with an external writer. Are the folios writing dialogue for the game and actually writing for the game, or are you just licensing the IP and they're pretty hands off?
So it's gonna work like this. So it's a cooperative project in that regards, that we can get all the help we need, and we're gonna cooperate. We need to, for example, check with the folios on certain things that need approval. So would Agatha Heterodyne, the character that we're playing in the game, would she word herself like this, for example? So there's gonna be a little bit of work there. We are basing our story and game on a specific part of the Girl Genius works. So it's a storyline where she enters Castle Heterodyne, Agatha Heterodyne, that is, all the way until she leaves that castle and the siege of Mechanicsburg starts. But for our game, we need to flesh out certain areas of the story of what happens in between. So we're gonna follow the story beats presented in the storyline from Girl Genius, but we're gonna flesh it out and add more stuff to it in between.
Interesting. So that's a large chunk too. It's like 4 or 5 of the comics, if I recall. There's a lot that
That
happens
is,
in Mechanicsburg.
yeah. But we are inside of the castle, the
Yeah.
castle
Oh, so
Heterodyne.
nice. So is this like, how long is this game gonna be? I mean, I know it's way too early. You're doing a Kickstarter. I'm asking very specific questions.
Uh,
But that's like a decent chunk of narrative right there. Especially if you're gonna, like, is there any way to tell that backstory? Because if you cold open with just going into Castle Heterodyne, how do you explain like the love interests, man? Kenny, you can't drop the you can't drop that complicated love triangle.
Yeah. So we certainly have our work cut out for us there because we have to actually manage to cut away parts that can be cut away, or else this game will grow out of proportion.
Yeah, because
So
there's just so much world building you have to do at this point. Because you're starting in like that comic where you enter Heterodyne. There was a good 10. How many comics were there before that? Just establishing the world, establishing what a clank is, establishing what it means to like what the spark is, and who all the I don't know. I've never said it out loud. The Jaegers, the
yeah,
Jaggers, like
yeah, Jaegers.
yeah, figuring out like just establishing these different, just the backstory. There's just so much. Are you gonna just drop people in cold open and like hopefully people figure it out? I think that's probably what I would do.
Right. So I think that I want to tell people a little bit about the backstory, but it can't be like the entire novelization from book 1 till through 6. Um, but I want to try to have a little bit of a entering narrative
Well,
to kind of why you're there.
I mean, there is something to like there. Most of the best RPGs I play that have these big expansive worlds, you figure out things like in this world the elves are in the case of Dragon Age, in this world the elves are slaves or whatever. Like you figure this stuff out while you just by exploring the world and talking to people, and they don't like have a lot of exposition in the beginning where they explain it. You just sort of figure it out. And I think this game would probably. But is this like an open world game that you can walk around and choose which NPCs you talk to, or is it going to be? Because I know. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, that's fine. So the game genre that we're going for here is an action adventure Metroidvania. So I want to let the player be able to explore different parts of the castle. Sometimes you have to kind of follow a strict path of story. Like you have to visit this area now because it's critical to a story. But at some points in the game, I also want it to be a little more freedom where the player can choose which path to go at that point in time. And the Metroidvania experience is to kind of unlock new areas or secrets and new areas to explore in the castle based on getting new character abilities and tools. So also a little bit in the Zelda direction as well there. Like, for example, you get bombs and okay, then I can go back and I can blow away that weak wall and then I can explore the secret room. We want a lot of that sort of gameplay. So exploration is a big one for us because I think that a lot of fans will appreciate being inside of this very special building.
Yeah.
It holds a lot of story, and it's also a very mystical and
Yeah.
strange
It's
place.
basically like it's cooler than Hogwarts. It's like awesome. It's this magical castle. Like where,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, this is such a beautiful universe to explore and work in. I'm just wondering how you limit the scope to something that's like attainable.
right.
uh,
So, in short, we want to zone out the castle and like think about it as zones. Uh, so that we're not over scoping the project, right? So let's say you have to visit 3 or 4 zones, and then you have to explore those areas. And we're gonna define each zone as this very distinct sort of place. For example, you have a place inside the castle called the Herbatorium, where the plants reside, right?
Right.
Very, very organic area. Very a lot of plants, a lot of lush green life, and mad science as well
Of
in there,
course.
right?
Yes.
Like what were the old heterodynes up to in the Herbatorium? And they created, apparently, in our game concept, some sort of sentient, quite angry plants that want to kill you. So it's a little bit of mad science going on in there. But that is like one zone of like the organic sort of area. And then, for example, another place, which would be the power reactor in the cellar of Castle Heterodyne. It's a place where you have like giant cogwheels that are just connected to the river Dyne.
Of course.
That creates the energy and all for that for the castle. And that is more of a very rigid, very mechanical sort of area, right? So we're gonna let the player explore like very distinct sort of areas in the castle, like that.
Oh, I love it. I mean, I know there's going to be lots of Easter eggs that, man, I love it. I have to find Lucrezia's little secret workshop below the bottom of Castle Headed. I love this series.
Yeah.
Like a lot. This means a lot to me that you're doing this, dude. Cool. Okay. So yeah, this sounds like a reasonably large game. It sounds like you're halfway through the Kickstarter. It's coming together. Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to say about it, or?
Well, I do hope that we are going to be successful with the Kickstarter, and we're super excited to make this game. I really want to do it, and like I say, it's a humbling experience to see the support from people from all over the world.
Oh yeah.
That want to make this happen, and we have over 2,000 backers on Kickstarter so far, and that is just something that feels so real to me, you know.
Yeah. My God. So is this game not going to happen if the Kickstarter doesn't go through?
Right. So we are currently dependent on the Kickstarter going through, because the way that this is working is that we need to partially fund the game development through another source. So, for example, Kickstarter or private investor. And here in Norway, we do. There is a lot of culture grants for video game development, but they do not fully fund a game production. So we need to partially fund the production through another source.
I see. Is it hard to get those grants? Is it like a lot of work and waiting and stuff, or?
It's a lot of work, like most game development related things, but thankfully we've done it many times, and we have a very good relationship with these grant givers, which are, for example, the Norwegian Film Institute. Yes, we are very comfortable in doing these grant fundings. And it's a good setup for that sort of thing here in Norway.
Okay. Norway's awesome. So I'm like, I wish we had granted the arts in America. We don't, no, we won't go there. Okay. So basically the grant is going to cover, they're going to kick in, but only if you cover at least half or something like that from a different source.
Correcto. So that's why we need to do the Kickstarter in order to, so it's also described in the Kickstarter for people that didn't know. We have talked about this in the Kickstarter as well. So it's kind of like one thing has to happen after another. But yeah, we're comfortable in setting this up as a production timeline. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, this is well within your wheelhouse. This is the kind of game you've made before. This is you have the tech, you're iterating on what you've done in the past. You seem to have a really clear plan. You have an incredible IP. I don't know if the
Yeah.
people who are listening to this realize how much I love this IP. So I'm really hopeful. I really want you guys to pull this off.
I do too. So it's gonna be a very, very exciting next 2 weeks. We're gonna be ringing the doom bell in every day and get people to get into this. And I hope that we will be successful. And then we have to also be really good at what we're doing. So I'm looking forward to getting this game development started.
Yeah.
Oof.
And I'm looking forward to hearing about your successful Kickstarter. So for the people listening, please, I don't know if you've realized this at this point, but this is basically a commercial for this Kickstarter. By this is me doing this solid because I really want to see this game. If you go on Kickstarter.com and look for Girl Genius Adventures in Castle Heterodyne, this is a game that's being developed right now by Rain Games, and they are currently, if you're listening to this, they probably only have like a week and a half left. And hopefully they're pretty close to funding it. So help them get over the last bit if you feel so
Awesome.
inclined.
Thank you very much, and I do certainly appreciate the support. And this is what it's all about. It's about people coming together to build this game, and actually as a community. And for me, that is very special. And I really appreciate the support that people have been giving so far. Yes, I'm amazed by the support, and very thankful for that.
All right. This has been Kenneth Engelsen from Rain Games, and I'm Gwen Frey, and you've been in the dialogue box. And I'll cut that, and that'll be the end of the audio for the podcast.
Alrighty.
You did good. Was that? Are you happy? Do you think you got everything out you wanted to say?
Oh yes, sure. Certainly, it's always interesting to do a live interview like this. I feel like I still need some training to do that, sort of, get on it. But it's a bit of a practice to do so.
Well, yeah. I hope I didn't grill you or anything.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Try to ask some really controversial questions. End up on Kotaku.
Well, it's about time Kotaku starts writing about us, isn't it?
Careful what you wish for.
You're right.
So there's the people in the chat. We can take your questions now if anybody has questions and stuff.
Right. So how is the audience for this? Because I've just been sitting here on Skype, so I haven't actually seen into the Twitch chat just yet. So how's it going over there?
Oh, it's pretty quiet. I think there's only like 10 people. It's kind of like,
right.
It's a Saturday. We're all just chilling.
Yeah.
See, Dom is here. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think many people are here today, unfortunately. But the podcast will get listened to by quite a few people. Cool.
Yeah.
Question about gameplay. So Dom asks you, to what extent have game design decisions been made already?
Right. The extent of game design decisions, we're okay into it because we are basing some of the game mechanics in this game, the Girl Genius game, on some actual previous game design that we have done for the game Walter West. For example, in how exploration works. In the Girl Genius game, you have a minion. You have a little robot buddy, which is called a dingbot, and you can kind of release that dingbot into the world, and you as a player controls it. And then you can explore the castle in different ways. For example, there are these little holes around in the hallways and in rooms sometimes that can transport you to another place. So it's like these little mouse holes, for example. So in that regard, some of the mechanics and game design is already ready to go, but further, we have to develop a little bit of new mechanics or game design for our main character, Agatha, that is a little bit more involved in the action-adventure combat style, where you're gonna be able to fight with melee weaponry and stuff like that. So we do have some more game design to do, but we certainly have already done quite a bit of work in the game design department. But we haven't properly started like a full-on game development around this game just yet, since it takes...
it takes money and time to do that, and if you get too invested, then it's like it puts you in a bad spot. Now your studio doesn't have what it takes to go do something else. Yeah, I feel you. So
we kind of have to be a little bit careful there. Like it's it's a lot of investment in our part for this already, right? So
well, I mean, you could always just say that World of the West is your current like prototype in a way, right? Because you've proven that you can do it once, and you'll just build on that with, you know, changing out the art style, changing the story. Once you're at a place where you're just updating something you've done before, I feel like that's a lot more low risk versus like if it was something your studio had never done before, and then you were on Kickstarter with like a design doc and a dream. I think I'd feel a lot more nervous, you know.
Yeah, I completely understand you, but we also do want to tell people that this is not a reskin, right? It's not like just a complete remake of a previous game. Like, we're basing ourselves onto what we've done before, so that we can save time and actually money for reusing some stuff, but updating some other stuff for new.
I mean, I think it's foolish to throw away everything you... Well, I'm saying this as somebody who's done it several times, but it's fun to throw away everything you've done for one game and start over from scratch for the next one and do something completely different. But if you look at the studios that are successful, they frequently tend to iterate within a certain sort of a wheelhouse, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes to a ridiculous degree, like Turbine makes... for a long time was making MMOs that were all very different, but building upon their unique tech. Like having some kind of through line for your games, I think is a good idea. If I think of any studio, like think of Clay. Clay makes games that are there's just a similarity there. You can smell a game and know that it's from Clay. You know what I mean? Like they've got a certain sort of an art style that they iterate on and they change for each game, but it still has some kind of shared pedigree. They've got certain, like there's a game, you can tell that a game is by Clay. It kind of feels like Clay. I think a lot of studios do that, and it's a really smart thing to do. So I wouldn't, I don't know, I don't think anybody will accuse you of just reskinning what you got. All right. Is there anybody else that has questions, or should we start thinking about wrapping this up? I think the chat's pretty much dead.
Right.
But this was fun, though. I really do.
Yeah. I appreciate coming on to the show, and I hope that there will be some listeners, and that we get a little bit more of the word out on the Kickstarter. And it's fun to sit down and just talk about it, right?
Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah. I mean, I know you got a lot writing on it. I know it's like I know what it's like. Man. Hey, good luck.
Right. Thank you very much.
All right, I'm going to probably, I'm going to end the stream now. Goodbye, everybody.
All right.
Later, Kirov.
Goodbye.